Welcome to the eGMS training for the After School Grant, the 21st Century Community Learning Center Grant, and the Primary Mental Health Grant. In Part 1, we will show you how to log in, how to start your application and complete pages, and how to create a budget. In addition to the video, we have information in the CSDE resources, and you can also click on the Request Help button to submit a help desk ticket or to get the number to call the eGMS help desk. In order to access the system, you must be a user. Users that have been entered into the system receive an email with a link to set a password. If you have forgotten your password or didn't get the email, click on Forget Your Password. Make sure to check your junk email box if you didn't get the email. Sometimes they go into there. If you get a message when you log in that your email is not in the system, click on the Request Help button to send an email or to call the help desk with your name, organization, and the grant that you need to access. eGMS is a web-enabled application. The site is https://connecticut.egrantsmanagement.com. When you access the website, click on the eGMS Sign In and enter your email address and password. Again, if you forgot your password, you can click on the Forgot Your Password link to have an email sent to you so that you can reset it. Once you have logged in, it's always a good idea to click on your profile. Click on your name at the bottom of the blue menu and enter your phone number and make any adjustments to your email address, first name, or last name that need to be made. This can be done at any time. Once you log in, the left menu allows for quick navigation between the eGMS components. Hovering over a menu item with an arrow displays a submenu for selections. When you log in, an LEA or organization user will only have access to their own district. The address book identifies LEA and organization and SEA roles and contacts. You can send an email to these contacts by clicking on their name and clicking on the email link. This is an extremely useful tool both for your organization and the state to see who in your organization has roles and access to the system and who at the state is a useful contact. Let's look at the actual application. Notice that on the home page we have messages and reminders that are helpful tips or announcements from the Connecticut State Department of Education. Also, your blue menu is at the right, and you do have some options even without being signed in. You have access to the CSDE resources mentioned earlier, which opens into various folders, which you can then open and find the documents that you might need or be interested in. The eGMS user guide link is here and will download a user manual that you can use as a reference. The Request Help button is also available to you even if you're not logged in, from which you can submit a help request ticket, or you can call during business hours, which are 8 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. To sign in, click on the Sign In button. Enter your password or your email address and your password. Again, if you have forgotten your password, click on the Forgot Your Password and an email will be sent to you which will allow you to reset your password. You now see that you have more menu options once you're logged in, and your name is at the bottom of the blue menu. Clicking on your name will open your profile where you can enter your email, your telephone number. You can also change your email address or your first and last name, anything that you might need to change. This can be done actually at any time. Clicking on the Funding Application button will open the Funding Applications page. Notice that it has a drop down for fiscal year, and the applications that are available to the organization will be divided into your entitlement funding applications and your competitive funding applications. Once you put an application in eGMS, it will be available from this point forward. So you can always go back to previous years by selecting the drop-down fiscal year button and retrieving an application that you did previously. For the current application, make sure the fiscal year is set on 2020. Click on the name of the application to open it. All grants open to the same page, the sections page, and the structure of the sections page is the same for every application. At the top of the page will be a line that identifies the organization, fiscal year, and grant. Below that is the status area. This is where the various workflow statuses will be changed. Notice that this application status, the current status, is not started, and the next status available is the application started status. Below that are links to all of the pages in the application that are divided up by sections. From this page, you can also view error messages in the validation column by clicking on the messages link, and you can print one or more pages. Statuses are changed at the top of the sections page. It's important to remember that the first line is the current status and the second line is the next status in the workflow. Applications must be moved to application started status before the LEA can enter information into the application. The link for a status change is always active, but only users with appropriate permissions can change a status, and the status can only be changed if all of the error messages in an active application are resolved. The status workflow for competitive applications is this. It begins as not started. The first thing you will do is move the application on the sections page to application started. Then you will complete all of the pages of the application and resolve all the errors and move the application to application completed. At that point, the LEA superintendent or the organization chief will approve the application, or they do have the ability to return it if corrections are needed. Once it's approved, it will go to the CSDE, and they will review the application for funding and either approve it or not approve it for funding. Sometimes an application can be returned at this point for corrections or revisions. It's not a common occurrence, but it can occur. Once the application has been approved for funding, the CSD grant contact will approve the grant and the budget that was submitted. As we'll see in the demonstration, on the application pages there's a Save and Go To button. It'll say Save and Go To or just Go To depending on the page. It is the primary navigation menu, and you can access any page from this menu. Notice that below here we see the Save and Go To button, and when you click on it you have sub-menus where you can select a page to go to. The system automatically saves what data has been input on the page when you move to another page or you save and go to current page. This is the only way that you can save information. And it is critical that you do not use your forward and back buttons on your browser, because if you do, you will lose any data that you put into the application. Again, always use the Save and Go To button to move from one page to another within the application. There's a 60-minute session timeout between saves, which means that if you're on a page and you're working and you haven't saved, after 60 minutes you will lose that data. There is a warning that comes up 15 minutes prior to this so that it won't go unnoticed. It is critical that if you're on a page and you have to leave or you have to take a phone call, that you save your work, and you do that by clicking on Save and Go to Current Page. That saves the information and resets the timeout clock to another 60 minutes. Basically, the funding application creation process is this. You open the application and move it to Application Started Status. You complete the pages of the application. You create the budget. You resolve any errors that appear under the validation column on the Sections page. Once errors are resolved, you change the status to Application Completed, and the system will generate an email to the superintendent or chief operating officer, and then that person logs in and gives the approval, and it is sent to the state. Let's look at this navigation within the actual application. We go to Funding Application and then Funding Applications page. This opens up by default to the 2020 application, but notice that you can go back to previous years and retrieve applications. Make sure the application for this year is set at 2020. Let's click on the Primary Mental Health Grant and open it up, and you'll notice that we're on the Sections page. Again, you have the information bar that tells us what grant we're in. The current application status is not started, but we want to change this status to Application Started. You must click on the Application Started link and confirm it before it is moved to Application Started status. Below you see the links. You can collapse these links if you want to make it a little bit easier to view, but it's not necessary. We see the Messages page, which says there are errors on certain pages, and when I click on that Messages link, it shows me what pages have the errors and provides a link to the page so that I can go there and resolve it. The Print function, where you can print individual pages, or if you check the box you can print multiple pages. And then the links to the various pages. There's a history log that records all of the changes that occur, the status changes, and any comments that you make. Notice we've got the Save and Go To button, and when I click on it, it allows me to go to any other page in the application. I'm going to go back to the Sections page. I can also create a comment. A comment is just some sort of note that you want to include in the application permanently, and it can be made by anyone who has access to view the application or to enter information in the application. Allocations pages for competitive applications do not have any allocation there until a grant is approved. And once a grant is approved, the grant application is approved, the budget for that particular grant will display here. A contact must be selected for every grant. A drop-down list will have a list of the names of the available people for contacts. A contact must be a user in the system before they can be selected. We'll click on Cover Page to go to a page. And in this page, there's a few things that are common to a lot of the pages that we want to go over. Of course, we have the Save and Go To button. We have text boxes, and I'll be showing you two types of text boxes. We have just a simple text box. Any field that has an asterisk by it are required fields. You can leave the page without filling in the field, but you will have an error message on the validation page, on the sections page under validations, that will prevent you from submitting the application. Some of the fields have drop-down boxes. There are check boxes which will allow you to check one or more boxes. Clicking on the box again will uncheck. There are some date boxes which have a calendar on them. And then some pages will have an upload, what we call a related documents section, which allows you to upload a document. Now, if it does say upload one document, if you're required, you will have a message that said you must upload one document. To upload a document, you click on Upload New. This is a very similar process to a lot of upload or selecting documentation. I'm just going to grab one here and click on Open. You can upload just about any document, a PDF, an Excel spreadsheet, or a Word document. I'm just going to put in something here, the name of the document, and click on Create. Then when I go down here, I see that that document is uploaded. I can delete the document if it happens to be incorrect, which I'm going to do now, or I can update it in case the document I uploaded just needs to be revised. In this box, we see something that is common on most of the pages that you will be working on, and this is what we call a rich text box. There's no limit to the amount of text that you can put in this box. You can use a numbering system. You can use bullets. You can cut and copy and paste from Word or from another application and paste in here. You can use colored font, various sorts of things. So a rich text box allows you to put in unlimited text, and it also formats that text. Let's go back to the sections page now. And the next thing, you'll go through the various pages and fill those pages out. Once you get down to the budget is the same pretty much for every single grant, the method of creating your budget. When you come to the budget, click on Modify in front of the detail that you want to use, and then you click on Add Budget Detail. A budget detail must have an object and a purpose code. In this one, there's really only one purpose code, but you can change the object code if you happen to select an incorrect one. If you go down to the school level to budget, you can use that. But generally, for the grants that we're talking about, you'll leave it here. You put in a quantity and a cost. And the quantity will multiply the cost to give you a total. And then you must enter a narrative. It's extremely important that in this narrative description you describe exactly what this cost is for and why you need it. Once that budget detail is created, you've entered all the information, you click on Create. Once the budget detail has been created, you may need to delete it. Maybe it was wrong, or you put in the wrong information, or you may just want to edit it. In order to edit a budget detail, you click on the Edit button, which opens it back up into edit mode. Make changes to the budget and click on Update. You can stay on this page and continue to add all of your budget line items. This is the same process that you would be using on the ED, I think it's 114, but you're going to be using the budget program to do this. Once you're finished with all your budget details, you'll notice that you have a running total over here of how much you have budgeted through the details to each of the different object codes. While most of the grants that we are covering today have only one budget per grant, the primary mental health grant for continuing districts actually has two budgets that they need to create. One is their primary project budget, and the other is the complementary mental health program. The way this is accommodated is that you have an object code and a purpose code. So when you create a detail, you not only will have to check which object code you're using, make sure you're selecting the correct purpose code, whether the detail is for the primary project or whether the complementary health program. Let's make a budget detail for this program. And you'll see that your that we are keeping track of the budget for the primary project, but we're also keeping track of a budget for the complementary mental. You can toggle views between the program budgets and your object codes by clicking on the budget by purpose or the budget by object. It's the same budget, we just have different views. Another thing to note is that as you start creating your budget, the total amount that you're requesting appears here. There is a negative amount on remaining. This is something that's particular to competitive grants, and you just need to ignore the fact that this is a negative number. This concludes part 1 of the eGMS training. Log on for the part 2 of eGMS training, where we will show you how to resolve errors, move your application through the approval workflow, and various other functions.